soft and then one's didn't on a medium, so you kind of committed at that point if you need to get your two stints out of the way on that set of tyres. But yeah, I agree with you. I think we might be seeing a pace difference due to the tyre compound now.
Track temp up at 21.5, which is approaching.
And hopefully I don't get striked. So
it's going to be a shift then back towards the medium compound. We heard Alex Wurz in the pit lane talking about exactly that shift. We've seen this battle before. 35 Alpine and versus 94 Peugeot. Last time we saw Alpine and Peugeot in the same picture, it was a little bit darker and it ended in tears between not these two drivers. Charles Milesi, who came into LMP2 racing, had a long association with Alpine, came in as a silver, as an amateur, now finds himself behind the wheel of the Works hypercar. Malte Jakobsen, very similar journey, LMP3 champion in the European Le Mans Series. And, oh, that's a big old lockup.
On the rear as well, wasn't it? Snap round, and the 009 Aston has to commit to the roundabout turnaround, and looked like a rally car, didn't it? Pulled up the handbrake and Scandinavian flicked it in, and he'll join in a few
I don't even know what he did. What happened?
So that is not just the easiest way back onto the racetrack. That is actually the race director's instruction with regards to going long in Mulsanne corner.
Yeah, because the problem is the only other way round is to do a U-turn, of course, there, and that's a no-go. You're going to be facing the direction of cars braking down from 330 kilometers an hour. It's not a nice place to be for anyone.
It's actually relatively new, the ability to use that roundabout to turn around down there. It used to be barriered off. And then a few years back, they came up with the clever strategy. It makes you realise, if you go down there as a driver, so I'm told by people who have, that how much bumpier a real public road is than the public roads that are prepared for racing here at Le Mans. So much of the public road, when you drive down it at Le Mans, is billiard table smooth now in comparison to the roads around the rest of the layout. 35 Alpine getting perilously close again to the rear of the 94.
Yeah, it was Chatin in the Alpine that hit Deval, wasn't it? Last time we saw a battle between these two French brands, and it was into the corner that they're approaching now, where we saw the Aston Martin go off. And you're right about the track. I remember the first time I came here, the tram lines down the Mulsanne from the trucks up and down this lorry, you had to commit to changing your line because you were trying to get out of that. Then you had the crown in the road, but now the road is super smooth. You would struggle to say it's a public road, in all honesty with you.
So the Mulsanne Straight actually curves off in road traffic use to at least two roundabouts. There are sections of the connecting straight, as we see that move from then the Alpine. Milesi down towards the outside. Is he going to have the power to get the moves done? It's the Iron Dames that are up ahead. Going to balk Milesi. Can the 94 stay on the inside? It can, and arcs in towards the apex of Indianapolis. Malte Jakobsen placing the car beautifully there, but Milesi not being offered the option because of the GT car ahead. Will have to go back to the drawing board to try to make that overtake. But those roundabouts connected by, I'm not going to call them pretend bits of public road, but they effectively are bits of historical straight, shall we call it, that take you all the way down to the chicanes of Mulsanne corner.
Yeah, and actually just watching the Aston Martin in the background here. It's not for position as we go on board with Sorensen. Be able to stick with the Alpine and the Peugeot for the last few laps. And now we're on board. You can just see the dirty air, can't you, washing out. Sorensen not able to place the car exactly where he wants on the apex. And when you get into that turbulent air, you've just got to guess the grip that's being afforded you. And it looked like he was unable to stay as close to the Alpine as the Alpine does to the Peugeot.
A real clue there when we jump back on board with Sorensen as to what they're missing behind the wheel of this Valkyrie. Look lethargic on the direction change, not quite with that directness that you see at the wheel of the Ferraris. Watch it go in here, look, to the first couple of corners. It's going to have to use all the road well out of the throttle, and then can't get all the way over to the right-hand side. Bit of lethargic, on the direction change again. Looks heavy behind the wheel.
Yeah, it doesn't look confident with the input, the steering either, does he? You can see his hands actually very relaxed. He's trying to just coax it into the corner, because when you are in the dirty air with unsteer, you've got an option just to wang a load of lock on and say, get there. And it looks like he's tentative of that. If he was to put that input, the rear of the car may not be compliant. And we saw that, didn't we, under braking into Mulsanne. So new to Le Mans this year, they've got a huge learning curve to go, and at the moment drivability of that car definitely needs some work to get it somewhere to the sharp end.
So a couple of things about what's going on here. The Alpine's on a set of soft tyres, first stint on those tyres. The Peugeot is on a set of medium tyres in its third stint, so there's an offset there, certainly in pace. The Aston is actually still on soft tyres as well, and it's on its second stint. And interestingly enough, the Alpines are still the only two cars at the moment that are aggressively in the soft tyre range, so they're clearly able to make that work even in the higher temperatures of the track.
It's the battle over 14th position in Hypercar. Long way back from the 4 that has just come in and out of the pit lane. Getting a sense for the battle all the way through the grid. It is a big gap back, though, from that number 4 Porsche to this Alpine Peugeot battle. Couple of minutes. The Aston is in it. On merit. And are we going to hear from Sorensen?
2 cars in front, number 35 and 94. They are for position. We just need to stay close. And we will work our strategy to overtake them. Okay, we need to just stay close. And we will work our strategy to pass them.
I don't remember
the dulcet tones of Rafael Pokora, the engineer of the 009, overlaid over another attempt by Charles Malesi.
I'm not joining the VC, Dom.
Unable to do so, down to Indianapolis.
One thing I should say about the lap times of the Alpine, despite them being on soft tyres, they are placing lap times when they've got relatively clear air, similar to some of the leaders. So clearly those soft tyres are definitely working on the Alpine.
Well, the soft tyre working for Alpine. He's
I know
make
it's
it
dumb,
work
but like
around the outside, is he? That's a fantastic move in the first part of the Porsche curves, and brilliant stuff. Alpine around the outside. We're looking forward to so many great sporting events on TNT Sports. Men's Cycling World Tour Criterium du Dauphiné Stage 8 will be today at 2:15 p.m. on TNT
Men's
Sports 3. So make sure you
I don't want to
tune in
watch a
for that
fucking
one.
biking event.
Outstanding
I don't like bikes.
cycling event on the run into the Tour. New fastest lap of the race for Earl Bamber, well pointed out, and they are into the 26s. Joe, he's just lost it for track limits, but well tried, lad.
Yeah, you knew he was on a lap, and then he used the track limit probably to cement the fastest lap. And another bit of an ego move was this Alpine, wasn't it? He knew he was on an in-lap, but still got that move done on Jakobsen. Great move there by him, but now boxes.
Yeah, a lovely move around the outside. It all you sometimes lose a bit of a feel for where you are during your stint. You make a lovely move, and then you think. You think, oh no, now I have to pit. Making a lovely move as well is Leslie, who's found Antonio Giovinazzi.
Excuse me?
So glad to see Antonio Giovinazzi here after what has been a very short night for you. So only 2 hours of sleep, right?
Swerving mid-race, I'm sorry.
It's Le Mans, you know, not much to sleep, but yeah, it's what it is. It's worse for them.
Oh, is this the?
Engineering, but,
yeah, that's Ferrari. One of the drivers for one of the Ferrari cars, because there's
still a long way to
3 to 4 drivers for each car.
It's
like an hour.
Still a long way to go, but it's a good. So far, so good. Let's say the car is good, but yeah, I think it's still a long way to go.
19.
So just we need to still focus and do all the right call and no mistake, and then I think we are in a good position.
Yeah, these are like the crucial moments because, of course, you're in front, but you don't want to make any mistakes because there's still so long to go.
Yeah, for sure. This is the priority now. The night was for sure the session more difficult, the traffic and everything, but it's still a long way to go, and yeah, no mistake now.
You're about to jump in the box.
Yeah, so
Ferrari again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know why, but these Ferrari has been
Antonio
dominating all
Giovinazzi
day.
about to get in the leading 51 AF Corsa Ferrari. Car 25 under investigation for a pit stop infringement. That's the Algarve Pro Racing Machine. Théo Pourchaire, Formula 2 champion of old, behind the wheel. There are a plethora of Formula 2 drivers. There are as many Formula 2 drivers, ex-Formula 2 champions this weekend at Le Mans as there are in the Canadian Grand Prix. So it's great to see the series represented here in the world's greatest endurance race.
You can see Sorensen getting on the back of Jakobsen now, so this is for position like his engineer told him a few laps back. And to your F2 point, I think now, because sports car racing is in such a rich vein of performance and manufacturers flocking, I think these F2 drivers that maybe haven't got a direct link to F1 are seeing this as a really viable option alongside Formula E as a way to earn a living as a race car driver. And it's only going to get better, right, with the manufacturers joining over the next few years. I honestly think we've never had it better in any period of sports car racing.
Quick scan down the entry list tells you everything you need to know. Théo Pourchaire in the race, Felipe Drugovich in the race, Fred Vesti in the race, Ollie Gray moving through. You've got various Formula 3 drivers, Formula 2 drivers coming out of those series, finding a rich seam of an opportunity in sports car racing with all of the manufacturers involved in the series. And it is an opportunity for those young drivers, LMP2 teams, providing the chance to get out there and show what they can do as well. Pietro Fittipaldi, a driver racing in those series of old. Tom Dillman as well, currently leading the race in LMP2, having been in and out in the 43 into Europol competition machine. So run through LMGT3 momentarily. Leeds still leading the race. It's now a minute back to the 21 Vista AF Corsa Ferrari, but there will be a change when professional driver Leeds cedes the wheel to the amateur in that machine, and here will hand over to the professional driver in his TF Sport in third position, 2 minutes and 59 seconds back at the last point of recording. Jack Hawksworth now behind the wheel of the Acodis ASP 78 car. The 87 carries a penalty for a little bit of contact earlier on in the race, and that is when you need to be getting your dark visor out, flicking that down in the cockpit as the sun rises. There's a lot of grip out there, but you've got to be able to see where it is. These endurance cars have already done a lot of work. 8 hours and 3 minutes on the clock of the 24 hours of Le Mans. 15 hours and 56 minutes have been undertaken. And it doesn't take much guessing when you look at the cars.
Yeah, they're starting to look battle-scarred, aren't they? Super slow-mos, always amazing to see the deflection of energy, especially on the curb strikes. You see it go through the tyre, into the wheel, sometimes into the bodywork, especially of the GT cars. And Sorensen still chasing hard after this Peugeot. Where are their strengths at these top speeds? Sorensen now getting that slipstream, looking to the outside, and then just getting eased over by the Peugeot. Not seeing much overtaking under braking here into Indianapolis or Nage. It's quite hard for a hypercar to get it stopped off the racing line without locking a front.
So I've just been looking with all three classes versus the leader in the class where some of the competition are. In hypercar and LMDH, the 51 and 83, that gap is staying relatively the same at the moment. They are basically pulling away from everybody else. In LMP2, there's one dominant car at the moment, which is the class leader, which is
Ferrari.
the
Really has been
43.
dominating for the past couple hours.
Everyone behind them is sort of staying relatively static in their gaps, not necessarily pulling away too
8 hours
much.
left in this race.
The dominant car in GT3 is at the moment the 92, and the pace of that car is clearly much, much better than quite a few of the other cars in LMGT3.
The interesting bit with the LMGT3 is we see Sorensen pit in the Valkyrie hypercar.
The past 16 hours,
the driver
Ferrari has
type, the
been
bronze and
dominating,
silver all have to do 6 hours, which naturally leads to 12 hours of potential pro time. Which pro has the most time left? Because obviously that could skew your data. For example, if Leitz has done 10 hours of his possible 12, but Rivera, who will take over this 21 car, has only got 7 hours, has done 7 hours. He's obviously got more time there, so that's a potential thing to look at for the last 8 hours in LMGT3.
When I look down the list of the LMGT3 cars as they stand now, there are several of those amateur drivers getting their time in. James Cottingham behind the wheel of the 59 for United Autosports. For example, Ben Keating behind the wheel of the TF Sport. So they're pounding through a little bit of that amateur driver time, as well they might with good track conditions out there. You've got to remember that some of those drivers will sit in the debrief or sit in the pre-race briefing in the morning, as you know well, Joe, and go, minimum night for me, please. I'm not feeling as confident as I might. So it's often this moment in the early morning that those drivers get fired back into the car. Of course, the pros love that because it costs them a happy hour. But alas, they are paid to play, and beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, especially when it's normally the boss of the car, the funding from the bronze historically, as we go on board that 92 Porsche, leaving with the Ferrari hypercar just behind as well. That Ferrari taking new tyres. We've seen a couple of corners to get it warmed up. And you can see that 92 as well. Just trying to read the body language. Looks like he's on new tyres as well. Not using too much curb, wants to get the pressures built up. And here is the 21 Ferrari. So that was the first place Porsche versus the second place Ferrari, still in pit lane currently.
Fuel going in, the number 21 Ferrari. AF course up versus Manthey, and it will be tyres then. The Goodyear tyre of
Cadillac in third.
The
Ferrari
compound provided
one of the
for
Ferraris
these LMGT3 cars thrown
box.
at the car. 60 tyres works out at 15 sets for
they lost
the
24-hour
race.
Third.
Out it go. No tyre heaters in GT either. A massive number of drive-throughs, Joe, given out then for this yellow flag infringement. So let's run you through it. So we've got the 9. So the 9 is the Ironlinks Proton Orica. The 11 car, which is the other Proton
I don't know how to
competition.
say any of these names.
The 13, which is a little bit further down through the field. That's the AWA Corvette. I'm just scanning through. So the 51 takes a drive-through. So the leader of the race will take a drive-through for the yellow flag infringement, as will the second place car, the 83 of Phil Hanson, which is on pit lane now. So the 90 and the 92. That's the leader in GT3, the Manthey car. So that'll take a drive through as well. So a significant number of key cars then are going to be taking a drive through as a result of a yellow flag infringement earlier on in the race.
A yellow flag? What's that even mean?
Ferraris there, they're going to lose their dominant gap, which is stood at around 90 to 100 seconds. The drive-through will cost them 32, 33 seconds, so it could bring that lead gap back down to under a minute, especially to that Penske Porsche, and that is going to really hurt that Manthey Porsche as well, and that could be enough to get the Vista AF course Ferrari GT3 into the lead as well. We do have double wave yellows, and that's the reason that car we saw in the box getting repaired, I would suggest, isn't fully repaired.
Yeah, so that's stopped on trackside there. That one, unless Fred Vesti gets it moving again, is going to be a slow zone at least down in what is the incredibly quick right-hander at the beginning of the first sector there. So the drive-throughs, if it is a slow zone, may well be delayed in their delivery. The track needs to be fully green in order for drive-throughs to be undertaken. We've got the 12 Cadillac Hertz Team Jota on pit lane as well. While we do so, we welcome Ollie Webb back into the commentary box. It's been a thrilling start to the morning, hasn't it, Ollie? And these yellow flag infringements are really going to throw a spanner in the works for some of the teams.
I walked in thinking it all just calmed down a little bit and saw every single number possible lit up for the infringements there for the drive-throughs. Yellow has now been removed.
What was he fined for?
Marshall Post 20. Here watching the 8th place BMW chasing down the fry. But we've got the 51 and the 83 that are both going to have to take those penalties. So we've got a countdown here to full course yellow.
Yeah, heading down to
slow zone.
Yeah, the slow zone, which is for Fred Vesti, who is still stranded down in that early phase of the lap, and that is a slow zone. That's slow zone 1, which begins from the start-finish line. So you've got the 51 and the 83. The 92 was also one of those cars, which will have to take a drive-through. So the leaders of at least 2 of the classes are going to be caught out by that.
Yeah, do your drive-through now, which is the Ferrari doing. It's only a slow zone, but that's 1/9 of the circuit at 80 kilometers an hour, so you will mitigate the loss. And it's nice as well, the slow zone is on pit exit, so as you have to get back up to speed, you'll only go from 60 to 80 rather than back to flat-out racing. So that has helped those drive-through penalty guys.
So the marshalling system you can see on the right-hand side of the cockpit there for Dries van Thor gives the drivers the information that they need to handle the slow zone. This one ends just over the Dunlop Bridge. So it is one of the long ones. Fred Vesti's going to be recovered there behind or over to the left near the barrier, I would imagine, unless they can get that car going again. This is a full pit stop for the 51. So they've hit pit road and they've decided to deliver a pit stop during this slow zone, not yet the drive-through penalty.
So if it's long enough, they could effectively do the pit stop, head back out, come back in again and do the drive-through. I don't suspect they're going to have enough time to get both of those done, but interesting enough, taking the strategy of we can get a quicker pit stop out of this rather than a quicker drive-through out of it.
I think I'll recheck the sporting regs. My understanding from years of this kind of racing is the track must be fully green to deliver the drive-through. So that's why they've come in for the full service pit stop in order to take tyres and fuel. And then they will head out and have to wait, I believe, until the track is green and then deliver the drive-through. Otherwise, they get a cheap drive-through, which would, by the letter of the law, be unfair. Well, what a difficult day it has been for Cadillac outside of the Jota entries.
They use the same box.
And, is this just a simple lockup? I think it's going to be. Yeah, 15 BMW makes its way over the gravel in the hands of Dries van Thor.
Copy and paste to the Magnussen lockup we saw before the night, didn't we, where he was complaining of the rear locking and engine almost cutting out.
It was an amazing early lock, though, wasn't it? It was actually now at the kink. Obviously, the initial brake pressure was too much.
Why is it called
and then it really went. The screen looking very dark. I don't know if that's our angle, but I can't see any information on the dash screen there. I don't think it's a problem because there's other electricals on and the rev lights are okay. Just wondered if we'd lost electrical power for a second. I could then see at the end. I think it was just the light of our camera. But yeah, that BMW not particularly compliant under big brake zones.
Could it be on purpose that we can't see the polarization of the screen of the dashboard there?
It's actually a very good point. It's incredibly simple. We have it on some of our phones that you can get those glass protectors that you can't see them from the side, privacy glass. And you see when people post their onboards online, they very much want to cover up what tyre pressures they're on, etc. What is the reason to stop them having it on the onboard camera?
Absolutely. So in any case, these cars whoever you talk to who's taking on the world of hypercar racing will give you a couple of points. Firstly, the cars are powerful, the cars are heavy. Third point is always they're complex on the brakes. The regeneration that you have to do of energy. There's no ABS in hypercar racing. A lot of the braking energy is delivered by the regeneration of energy back into the MG UKs. So you have to get that set up absolutely right. Not quite right. There are the lockups. Let's listen in here, see what's gone on with Vesti. So that's just lost power, hasn't it? I didn't hear it rev through, so I'm not sure it's anything mechanical, but you know, in terms of the power delivery to the road, I think it's just lost power in terms of the engine, and that looks very much like a call it a day hug, doesn't it, down at Whedon Cadillac?
It didn't sound the healthiest when it did cut out, but you're right, it's not like it revved straight through and went light in the engine. And had any kind of explosion. Interestingly, it had an incredible amount of right-hand lockdown, almost like it had been in an incident separate to the engine. But yeah, that's definitely game over, and we've had that yellow removed now, so we're back to a full green track. So let's wait to see when these two Ferraris take their drive-throughs.
It's going to be a significant number of cars that were going to be in, more than 10, it appeared, that had their drive-through penalties being required. Battle then as LMP2 makes its way down to the second chicane.
I've made up my mind. I'm not gonna do the 24 hours
sequence of cars through the mid-pack. Got Antonio Felix da Costa in the AF Corsa machine, returning to Le Mans this year
24
after his exploits in Formula E. Giorgio Roda and the TDS racing machine at the moment being piloted by Rodrigo Salas.
I feel like that for like they did last year. I feel like Ferrari could win Le Mans.
Another car under investigation for the slow zone procedures. This time, George Kurtz in the 45 Algarve Pro machine. And a lot of drivers this year falling foul of these systems of organisation. You've got those two Ferraris now taking their drive-through in the pit lane, 51 and the 83. Number 6 Penske Porsche has been in and out, but I think that is for a scheduled stop for the number 6 for Laurens Vanthoor, who's now off sequence with those two leading Ferraris. So they find themselves in the pits at the same time for different reasons, off the road down towards Indianapolis, making his way through the traffic for the Hertz team.
Like I'm Luigi.
He'd only done 9 laps on his previous stint. So
was he one of the drive-through candidates as well as?
He wasn't.
I didn't see his number.
Single-digit driver, any cars, sorry, for that penalty. Scanned through that. So
is it not like he got the call while the yellow was out? I mean, they had plenty of time to abandon that call because the only thing would be if there was a slow zone at the time and they decided to call him in.
Yeah, his pace was strong as well, so I can't see an obvious problem. We've had a few slow punches, haven't we, for teams, and they've had to bail for pit lane. Maybe they got something on the TBMS alarm in Sector 3 and decided to bail out of it. But it's 4 laps shorter than it should have been, that stint.
Perhaps a strategic reaction to the drive-through of the Ferraris to get a pit stop done now when he might retain some sort of advantage. In any case, yeah, only 9 laps is not long enough. He is out of sequence with them, well out, Vanthoor, more than sort of 20 minutes, half an hour out of sequence with the two leaders. But as you point out, Joe, yeah, that's well short of where they would hope to be.
Who the fuck are you?
You'd want to keep that overlapping stretching to the end, though, wouldn't you? And potentially do a short last stint with less fuel or fresher tyres, potentially. So, yeah, we'll have to speculate on a tyre issue would be the most likely cause for that early pit stop.
In and out for the Iron Linked Proton in LMP2. Antonio Felix da Costa and Giorgio Roda, the battle we were just checking in on, have also
I don't mind you
come
being here, I just want to know
into
who you
pit
are.
lane. It's Davide Rigon in the Ferrari middle of screen, but still Francois Heriot, who is in the 21 Vista AF Corsa, being slowly moved away from by Ricardo Pera at this stage. TF Sport of Van Rompuy moving in ever so slightly on that 21 car now.
Ricardo Pera using 2 of his track limit jokers, of which you get 4 in the whole race, in 1 lap in the last lap. So we went from not seeing many to now I saw 4 over the whole timing screen on the last lap for everyone alone. So yes, we've only got just under 8 hours to go, and it seems like if you were to start an 8-hour FIA WEC race, that would be a long time. But now a driver's starting to just push those limits a little bit more, take a little bit more curb, edge towards the gravel a little bit more, or are they simply just getting a little bit tired and using a bit more of the road than they accidentally need to?
It is that moment, isn't it, where you're going through the exit of the final part of the Porsche curves. Your head's up against the outside of the headrest because you are a little bit more tired than you probably should be at that stage of the race. And you've got to find the energy to just turn the steering wheel that little bit more. Théo Pourchaire looking sharp, though, isn't he? At this stage of the race, is not succumb to the rigors of prototype racing just yet.
Were you able to sleep? Were you a good sleeper during the 24?
Never slept a wink between likes and checker of any 24 race.
Like 8 in the morning while I was sleeping,
I just couldn't do it. I mean, you see your teammates asleep on a beanbag in the middle of the pit lane with all the noise and everything. I wish I could.
And I never needed it. I never needed it. If we were in the hunt, only one 24-hour race, I felt tired in, which is when I've been well out of the hunt here. Specifically here, if you're well out of the action, had an alternator failure really early on 1 year, and I felt tired, but I still couldn't sleep until the checkered flag fell.
I used to like the feel. I used to sleep a lot in 24-hour races, and the feeling of you get the wake-up call normally from the physio. You're in the car in 30 minutes.
Do you guys ever
like,
sleep?
okay, that's
or
nice. You
just
get ready,
like
get in the car, and you're like, I'm not ready to be driving a racing car at 160, 170 miles an hour as you've just woken up. But yeah, if you can go through the night, it does make the party after the race a bit more interesting when you're working on a 40-hour awake period.
Human body is just an incredible thing, isn't it? It takes you a grand total of 3 corners to be absolutely on it, even if you feel like you couldn't brush your teeth 10 minutes ago. This battle you're seeing on track, not for position. So this is Dane Cameron in the 199 Spike the Dragon, trying to get himself back on the lead lap here, trying to pass the race-leading 43 into Europole competition car of Dane Cameron, of Tom Dillman, I should say. He's not in both cars.
And that is the leading car. So although not for position, this is what we love about Le Mans, which is that everyone has their own little fight going on, and everyone personally, as a driver, has their own fight going on. And if you are behind the leader in your category and you can pull an overtake or stay with that car, of which he very, very much is, you're proving a point that shoulda, woulda, coulda, and making sure that you've got a nice B-pillar report at the end of the race.
Absolutely. The average laps are the evaluation of the driver. So it's the 009, the 8 and the 93 that have no further action as a result of that yellow flag, which caught out so many, to reset you on the gaps at the front of Hypercar. You've got 51 and 83 now, 7 seconds between them. Having taken a stop early, the number 6 Porsche is now 40 seconds off the lead, as you see the AO racing machine side by side down into the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. That's not with the Inter Europol machine, and this battle across the laps in the LMP2 class continues.
Just to go to that six Porsche gave us an early pit stop. They didn't change tyres on that early pit stop, so it wasn't a tyre issue So we have to continue to speculate. And just to go back to the speculation of GT3 drive time, we're talking about how the pros effectively can't do more than 12 hours. The top three have all done a very similar amount of driving with their pros within 15 minutes, but they've done less than half of their allowed. They're all under 6 hours of drive time so far. So they could potentially do 6 hours of this remaining 7 hours and 42 minutes. Matteo Drudi in the 4th place GT3 LM car could actually do 7 hours. So the rule there is you can't do more than 4 and 6 though. So they're going to fall back to that, which I think shows the strength of the silver graded drivers, where they've split that pro time between either the gold or platinum with the silver.
So what you're saying is those leading 3 cars have done a lot of their amateur time and are under control to the end of the race, so likely to be driven now at close to professional pace or professional pace for the remaining laps of the race.
So the gap going into doing their drive-through for the leading 51 and 83 chasing Robert Kubica behind was 10.5. It went to 7.5, and now it's 5.5. And the last lap of the race from Robert Kubica in the 83 AF Corsa was its fastest lap of the whole 24-hour race so far, a 3:27.3. And in the first sector, not very similar, 1 second apart, very similar in tenths. So 1 second again in the first sector. So we're seeing that 83 catching quick.
Yeah, he's hammering Giovinazzi at this stage in terms of
I'll be right back, chat. You guys can listen to this.
They're on exactly the same tyre stint, having had a bit of a messy pit stop sequence where they've had to roll through and take that drive through, but he's really set off after it. Could be just a differential in traffic with regards to exactly where they are around the racetrack.
But with 3 laps in a row,
yeah,
you know, an out lap, a time lap, and coming out of the pits.
And it's not. If anything, Kubica's got a little bit more traffic, so he's really found a lot of time at this stage. Giovinazzi a couple of seconds back last time around. Kubica the fastest of the entire hypercar field over the last 13.6 kilometres. The exit of Arnage, the battle between the 20 BMW Team WRT and the slightly out of contention now, battling to remain on the lead lap, Penske Porsche. 7 hours and 40 minutes to go at the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Ten minutes, 40 seconds. Let's go.
51 Ferrari leads by 5 seconds only, shortly to be less, because that was another great middle sector for Robert Kubica behind the wheel of the 83. You're watching the number 4 Penske Porsche, which is in the hands of Nick Tandy. Relatively recent handover. He commits to the pit lane. He was closing in on René Rast behind the wheel of the number 20 BMW. BMW have been in the hunt on pace, but it hasn't really come to much. Dries van Thor is the leading car for BMW. The number 15 finds himself on sequence with the leaders, but a decent way back in terms of time. 1 minute and 30 seconds now off the leading 51 Ferrari for Dries. Bit of clean of the tail section for Nick Tandy then, as he finds himself on pit road.
Seeing some slow-mos here, some sparks flying, hitting the curbs quite heavily again. Is that we spoke about the LMP2s having that, and are these hypercars now just starting to edge a little bit more? We're going to see nice slide into the apex, and effectively an apex track limit there, and which doesn't seem to count here for some reason. So I think it's just as crucial on the apex as it is on the exit.
I'm amazed, guys. I mean, you've done this race, Ollie. I've had the pleasure of racing here. You know exactly what it's like to drive a sports car race over 24 hours. How much curb everyone is using from the beginning of the race all the way through has been a stark difference this year. These cars are being set up to deliver that kind of curbing every lap, aren't they?
I think the problem is everyone's got to do it because one car will use all the curb and get to the end. So you can't look after the car and afford a second a lap in looking after it. You've just got to treat it like a sprint. But the consistency, the cars are able to do it. And I always felt in the development of a race car when we were trying to nurse it through the early stages, a curb strike like that is 3 or 4 times more damaging of the car. So if you were staying off the curb, I think you could do 3 to 4 24 hours without a technical problem. Using that amount of curb, I think that's how physical it is on these cars.
A single set of bananas in the Ford chicane. There was a time at Le Mans where it would make you grimace for a lap and a half, wondering what was going to break next. These guys are on it absolutely every single lap. 87 LMGT3 Acodis ASP make you move on the heart of racing Aston Martin. And this is Lopez making his way around Robichon for that 4th position in class. Nice move for Lopez. Has been around a second quicker over the last couple of laps. Coming as well is Jack Hawksworth just behind. You can see him there, just in the back of shot. Fastest lap of their race last time around for Jack Hawksworth in the 78 Acodis ASP Lexus. And he's pursuing now Zachary Robichon for 5th place in that class. He's being bullied a little bit at the moment, Robichon, by the 2 Lexi?
Lexi, sandwiched by the Lexi. We're in a very quick part of the race here. We've got Dries Vanthoor setting the fastest lap of the whole race, not just personal best, not just for the car, a 3:26.9. So we've crept into the 26s there. We've got a purple
faster than my previous
time lighting up on our screens there. So we're past the golden hour, but it's still cool and consistent enough that if you've got a gold or a platinum in your car, you're able to set those times. We were speaking about hitting the curbs before and how if one person does it, you've got to do it to be able to make it into the race. It seems like every year these cars come on and on so that they last longer and longer. And for the screens that we have here and for those that watch on the app or online, when is the last time that we got to 7 hours to go seeing all of the categories that close together, no one mixed up in between each other? It's incredibly close. And with one safety car over the whole race, to still have them that close to each other, it's pretty unbelievable as we see these curb strikes now, actually, even for the GT3 cars who were hitting them slightly less, now starting to attack.
I mean, in terms of reliability, we've got 2 caddies out of the race in Hypercar. That's it. You know, really? The only LMP2 car that has retired from this race was crashed by the driver. That's the Nielsen Racing. Absolutely everything else has run pretty much like clockwork. There are some damaged bits and some bits of body going on out there, and I'm sure if you took a scan up and down the pit lane and went and talked to all the teams, they wouldn't quite see it that way. But long gone are the days where you make it to Le Mans morning and there are sort of 10 cars left in every class. They're so developed, aren't they? Especially these LMP2 cars, when you have grids of 20 cars all over the world, all feeding back the problems to one chassis supplier in Orica, who then tweak away at that machine for almost 10 years now. And you can see the result, which is that they are just bulletproof here at Le Mans.
Do we need to make Le Mans longer?
It's the equivalent of a Lexus GT3 car having a 60-car grid racing around the world consistently, all with the same team. You're right, it's just so much information that they can work on the finite parts. We're seeing personal best throughout the Hypercar and GT3 field now. It seems to be a quick time of day throughout. The 83 Robert Kubica AF Corse car was catching. It still is, but that rate has slowed down, so 3.8 seconds away. It's more like half a second a lap overall now that it seems to be catching. So his warm-up phase was where he seemed to gain the most, and now it seems to have leveled out a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a decent lap. In the 6th Porsche, lost himself 4 or 5 seconds to those the duo.
Hold on. Hold on 1 sec. Hold on 1 sec. Give me 1 sec. Give me 1 sec. Give me 1 sec.
With great success over in the IMSA series, and now is trying to be the next Lexus up to make a move on the heart of racing, Aston Martin.
Yeah, just looking at that Porsche, I think it was a couple of P2 cars on the track map that potentially lost him those 2 or 3 seconds as Hawksworth hounding on. And you're right, that car's been so strong out in the States. Ben Barnicoat has been in that car, but obviously had an injury on a cycling accident. So many racing drivers these days injure themselves on bicycles. Good to see Ben Barnicoat nearly back to full health.
Ferrari's what up?
Racing.
119,
so,
116,
good to see Ben back, one of the good guys in motorsport, former colleague of mine at McLaren. So yeah, we had a good time, and Hawksworth has deputised very well, and it looks like they're struggling a bit out of these corners, and it's then at the end of these straights where the Lexus seem to be at their strength. Can he do anything about this Aston Martin down the Mulsanne?
We always like it when they're side by side or in each other's toe, because it's when you can really get a sense of who's got the quicker car and where down the straights. Not as obviously as we found, though, when we were watching the hypercars. I'd say particularly in the first few hours of the race, where these regulation of when the power gets delivered and when it's cut by, and over 250 kph, then the Ferrari gets a little bit less. And
what's up, crackers?
Cars in
what's up, crackers?
Manufacturers pulling out of the corner, pulling up in the toe, having a pause, then the power redelivery comes back.
I'm
is just really
gonna be streaming for 8 hours.
When we first started racing as a classic tow, was progressively just
I don't know
eating into that hole of air, disturbed air.
But I know I
as you
am.
see the speed difference here with the hypercar overtaking, getting
normally
in
y'all
between
would
the
have been, I don't know, fucking sleeping
I
by
think
now.
with drag being exponential as well, and the hypercar's doing 360 kilometers an hour, 220 miles an hour, you just get suddenly a huge boost of overdrive as you're in that pocket of air. And then the hard bit is when you pop out, and that's why we've seen them get so close, haven't we, before they jink out to the side, because they need to stay in. And then the side draft's so strong as well, so then they sit aggressively close to the car in front, trying to keep in the pocket, as we see the 83 car now trying to navigate that. The gap between Giovinazzi and Kubica, just 3.6 seconds, as you can see, through GT cars in between those cars.
I don't think I can
Alex
pull
Brundle has gone for a bit of respite,
and
I must
exactly.
admit, I was concerned leaving 3 racing drivers in the commentary box, half expected to find myself locked out when I got back up here.
We were way too sensible.
That was that one chance.
You were incredibly well behaved. I'm so impressed, boys.
It reminds me when my mum and dad left me in charge of my younger brother and sister at the age of 11, and
you
we
didn't
decided.
lock them in a cupboard.
No, I did a lot worse. But anyway, that's another story. They're both still alive. I had parents and siblings.
So Jack Hawksworth chasing the 27 Hard Racing Aston Martin, Zachary Robichon. Jack Hawksworth is the 4th teammate that Finger Hit and Arnaud Rabat have had so far this season. So after Ben Barnicoat's incident that you alluded to there, Joe, after the first round, it's been Esteban Masson and Yuichi Nakayama who have filled in at the other 2 rounds. But Jack Hawksworth, something of a super sub, because of course he replaced Pachito Lopez when Lopez was called up to replace the injured Mike Conway in the Toyota
because of another cycling accident.
Because of another cycling incident, yes.
You were driving at the time, weren't you?
Yeah.
You boys really must stop going out on 2 wheels. It's far too dangerous.
Half the amount of grip as a car, that's the issue.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, how do they not fall down more? That's the question. So Zachary Robichon under pressure. Robichon, one of many drivers who are taking part in multiple 24-hour races over the course of the next couple of weeks, but interestingly across different machinery, because he is not a manufacturer-supported driver. He's driving for hire, effectively, as the Silver. And so we'll see him here in the Aston Martin, but I believe he's out in a Mercedes.
Jack's really struggling to. I mean, he's on his tail, but not easily getting past. And I think that's kudos really to how Robichon's doing in that Aston.
Yeah, again, it's just the modern GT3 car now. So fast, so aero-dependent. Gone are the days of a decade ago where you could just follow bumper to bumper. The dirty air, obviously nowhere near as extreme as a hypercar or a P2. But unless you've got half a second in the pocket, it is quite hard to make this move done in a timely manner. And this will be obviously hurting the tyres as well as Hawksworth's lap times, and it will be frustrating. But yeah, Chris, you're talking about a busy period of 24-hour races. We've got Nürburgring 24, Spa 24 the weekend after that. And there's 8 drivers doing those races back to back, and that is pretty extreme when you look at it. And as a driver, when you've done a 24-hour, Ollie, and you wake up Monday morning, all I can ever say is it's like being on a stag do. You wake up, everything's a bit jaded, you're not quite sure of where you are or what's going on, but you've got a smile on your face. But to do that 3 times back I don't have 3 friends, so I'm never going to do 3 stag do's back to back, but it's a big undertaking.
No, it's 1 in the morning.
You said 8 drivers.
1:33 in the
I make it 6.
Okay,
let's run through them. Okay, so most of them are factory drivers. So the easy one, Raffaele Marcello, so obviously here in the hypercar, and then we'll be in the GT3 car with Rover for both Nürburgring and Spa. Augusto Farfus, who's in the Bend WRT car. He's also with Rover for the next 2 24-hour races. Kelvin van der Linde, who's also in the WRT BMW with Rover at Nürburgring and then with WRT at Spa. Maxi Martin, as we'll just call this overtake as Jack Hawksworth finally pulls out of the slipstream on Zachary Robichon. Got the LMP2 car chasing them down as well, but the Lexus will have the line going through the next right-hander. LMP2 car having to take a little bit of extra space on driver's right, but eventually the track should come to Hawksworth on this long run down towards Indianapolis. The Lexus does go through into 5th position, so the 2 RCFs now line astern in the timing order. So
I don't know
Maxi Martin,
I don't know
4th driver. So here with Iron Links, with Get Speed next week at Nürburgring, and then Boots and VDS at Spa. Lucas Stoltz, who's also in the Iron Links back here. And then Get Speed for both Nürburgring and Spa.
Phantom, if you are watching, I will admit I am tired.
The Manthey Porsche, then the Dynamic Porsche next week, and the Rutronic Porsche at Spa. Who else do you have on your list?
Jules Gounon, is he?
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't believe he is. He's doing 2 of them.
There's a Ferrari up front and Porsche up front.
I thought he was down for all of them. He's definitely there at
Spa. I have Jules down, as part of his Mercedes factory.
Maybe it won't be. Maybe it won't
program.
Be.
He's in the Get Speed Mercedes at Spa.
Okay, let's have a little look.
Well, what I also find interesting as well is the number of drivers who are doing it across different categories as well, because obviously the Nürburgring and Spa, they're GT races, but we've got prototype drivers here who are then going to be switching over to GT machinery for the next couple of weeks. So 6 of them are in LMP2. That includes Colin Braun, who's racing for Nielsen this weekend, Sebastian Alvarez in the EDEX Sports P2 car, Alexander Malikin, Nicky Katzberg for APR, George Kurtz for APR, and Frank Pereira for BDS Panis. And then a number of the hypercar drivers as well, which includes Alessandro Pierguidi, Miguel Molina, Antonio Fuoco, Jules Gounon, Sheldon van der Linde, Rene Rast, Kevin Magnussen, doing Spa with Valentino Rossi, of course, for WRT, Dries Vanthoor, Matt Campbell, Lawrence Vanthoor, Kevin Est, Matthew Jaminet, Julian and Lauer, obviously it's Porsche factory drivers, Marco Sorensen and Ross Gunn as part of their Aston Martin factory program. And then, curious one actually, Kamui Kobayashi is racing a Good Smile Racing Mercedes at Spa this year, which I thought that was rather left field.
But yeah, we can't underestimate how hard and how impressive it is.
Is there a Good Smile Racing car on the track?
From hypercar to GT3, or even in Felix da Costa's situation, to go from a Formula E car and hop on a plane and fly overnight and then be back into an LMP2 car, which he's not been in for ages, the next morning when he came in here for testing, and being able to back-to-back in this different machinery is wildly impressive, especially at such an incredibly high level. Got Bamba, car 38 under investigation, cutting Marshall's post 3, so whether he's cut a corner completely and gained an advantage from that. So we'll have a little look at the mini sectors if we can, but again, timing screens lighting up on the last lap, so we've got 5 people setting their fastest lap of the race on the last lap, and another fastest lap of the race, 26.8, so another 10th shaved off Vanthoor's time, but this time set by Antonio Fuoco in the number 50 Ferrari.
Yes, and now sub 127. So that's the first ever sub 127 race lap.
Second, so we had just before you came in, Vanthoor.
This is the first time we've seen it. Like,
technically third, because Bamba did a 26.9, track limit got deleted. Then Vanthoor did a 26.9 legit, and now Fuoco has done a 26.8. So not to say you're both wrong, but
but for the first time, we're seeing race pace sub 127 in the hypercar category. Of course, the LMP1s were a bit quicker than that, but that is Fuoco taking the lap record back, which he came here with.
I thought you were going to say we were wrong for the first time ever. I was like, I don't think I'm wrong.
No, that's
never happened.
Never.
It's obviously still quite early in the morning. I'll tell you what I need, Chris. Can you guess what I'm going to ask for?
Oh, is it an Iron Dames motivational quote?
That's definitely... Oh, no, it is what you've got.
And right on cue.
Read off the side of the car, quickly.
Would you like one about energy, bearing in mind that it's all a bit... it's all a bit tiring at the moment. Let's do one.
I don't know.
Energy is bringing intensity to every drill, even on days when your mind is somewhere else.
I don't know what the scoring's by. I don't know where.
Nice.
I thought it was going to rhyme.
I don't know where.
No, they're not limericks. Again, big thanks to Manti
don't tell
for
me.
supplying us with those.
Come on.
Specifically asked them. Hey, I've been zooming in on all the photos you posted online with the car, but I can't make out most of the rides. Can you just send it to me? And they very happily obliged.
How many have we got left? Have we got 1 per hour until we finish the race?
I haven't been ticking them off. I'll have to double check. We've got a few left.
And sorry, to go back to your drivers doing all 324, you are right. My ChatGPT search was incorrect on... I was with Gunon as well, and Drudy were my 2 red herrings.
Never, ever trust ChatGPT. Contact here and spinning round the racing spirit of Le Mans Aston Martin, and that was on board with one of the Proton Mustangs. It's the front-nosed car.
Ooh, Aston Martin around.
The car. I mean, that's a tough place to do an overtake. We've seen that contact happen twice in this race, and both at the same place.
I know it's an American car, but it's a proper pit manoeuvre, wasn't it? Near the pit lane, but just turned him around, and that Aston going across the curbing would have been a double whammy, quite literally, for the Aston Martin GT3.
So that would have been the 77 Proton car of Bernardo Souza that pitched round the number 10 Derek De Boer, the bronze driver in that car, and it actually gets worse for Racing Spirit of Le Mans because their latest pit stop is now under investigation. It was the Barbier-led squad, Father Patrick and daughter Emini as the team manager.
Look at the amount of rubber to the right-hand side of the circuit there. The cars, when they finally straighten the wheels onto the Mulsanne, jettison all of those marbles. You can see a few tyre marks where cars, most probably hypercars, and then you can see, can't you, the car widening the entry into the chicane and it cleaning it up. But not surprising, the amount of pit stops being done this year, obviously limited on tyres, 14 in the prototype classes, 15 sets of tyres in GTs, and there's that damage that's been there since the start of the race, and just giving it a bit of a prod to make sure it's okay. I'm surprised they've not put any tape on it at any point. I can only assume they're worried it won't stick and it will become a bigger issue. But I would have thought that's adding a bit of drag as we see that 92 car, which had that drive-through penalty for the yellow flag infringement serving its pit stop, and all 3 GT3 cars now have done their minimum driver time with the AMS, so they will be going for a nice coffee as we see the try to release the pit lane speed limiter and get straight up to speed.
So it is Ricardo Pera, their silver class driver aboard 92, the class leading Manthey First Form Porsche. It is a 10-second time penalty added to the next Racing Spirit of Le Mans pit stop.
Fighting going on here throughout. Lots of the hypercars now doing their fastest time. Antonio Giovinazzi taking his fastest time. Purple's in the third sector and 26.5. The fastest lap of the race again by Robert Kubica. Only 1.7 seconds off. Interestingly, just lighting up the screens first and second place. So Robert Kubica catching
now.
only 1.6 seconds off now, but he's catching the second quickest car on track. So he'd be wishing he was a little bit slower there in the lead.
I've been up since 11.
Yeah, this could be his last lap of his stint if they've stick to their 12 laps. We saw 13 laps for the Ferraris per period, then they reverted to 12. And yeah, there's a fuel load coming off the cars, lighting up the timing screens. And is it a bit of, this is now what we've got? We've been managing a bit of pace for the first, 75%, and now we're coming in to the last part where we're going to give it everything. Let's listen in. There's going to be a radio message there from Vantor.
I have officially,
drops a
right now, I've officially been streaming for 1 hour.
And, a good save and a flash of the headlights to say that was your fault, BMW hypercar, and I'm going to remember who you were. And then he boxes.
16 minutes left.
Going to follow him and go and chase him down pit lane and have a slight discussion of exactly what happened there through the exit Porsche curves.
So a bit of an example of what distraction.
So the happy hour is done, but I'm with a very happy driver here, Frank. Of course, what's going on for you guys? Really strong in the LMP2 class. And how was it driving out there?
It's fun. It's really nice. You know, it's the confidence is getting higher for me. The team is doing an amazing job. My teammates also are really strong. You know, so yeah, we are fighting. We will see at the end, but we're gonna give everything.
Yeah, how is it to be like the most experienced driver in this lineup? How is it to manage the kids, their 20s?
Yeah, no, easy. They're really together. They are still younger than me, but no, they're really quick. So we have a good relation. We are trying to push together for one goal, and the atmosphere is good. So yeah, we're gonna give everything. We'll see.
What's the strategy for the next capping hours?
Push.
Keep pushing.
Yeah.
Get some rest as well.
Yeah.
Frank Pereira out of the VDS Panis Racing. Oliver Gray currently second in that car in second position, but only 1.4 seconds away from Tom Dillman in the class leading into Europol competition number 43. It has been between those two for several hours now for the lead in LMP2.
So Leslie rightly saying that the happy hour might be done, but it's still happy enough to be going quicker and quicker, especially for those first two. Before we went to the break, we were talking about the 83 of Robert Kubica catching, and it's down to 1.9 seconds. So 3:26.7 last lap for Antonio in the 51, and 3:26.5, which is the fastest lap of the whole race, as Robert Kubica comes into the pits now. So Joe was right there in saying that he's coming towards the end of his stint. The energy level in the tank is low, therefore the car is nice and light. From the cool air that we get in the morning when we've had a rubbered in track like we've got now, as we see it parked up there, and we've got some new mediums lying on the side. So does that mean we're about to see a full fresh set of tyres? It might be just there as a puncture set.
Yeah, shouldn't be. They took tyres on the last set, so should have another couple on it. Really cleaning the car, more than I've ever seen. It just shows you the aero dependency of these cars. We had a lot of fly issues at the start of the race. I think we're starting to see more flies as the temperature comes up. And it's a strange thing to be talking about, but it was the most prevalent issue to the drivers and the teams, were the amount of flies being struck.
And interestingly enough, you said a lot of cleaning going on.
I'll leave it to
the first time we've really seen it happen over the tyres. So when you're coming in over this rubber clump now that we're seeing that is developing over the side as the car now sets off, that sticks, the tyre's nice and hot, you go unloaded through the pit lane, therefore you're not scraping off the surface of that tyre, all the rubber crumb sticks to the top, so then you get this marbling effect, and when you leave the pit lane, your contact patch, the rubber, the tyre, which is the most important part hitting that tarmac, is then lessened by the height of all of these little marbles that are stuck to the top of the tyre. So I wonder if that's just because it wasn't the Michelin guy, it was the Ferrari guy
always
himself.
speaks
Like aggressively brushing every tyre to get rid of any excess on the top.
Yeah, and as a driver, that marble
We
effect's
will end
twofold, isn't
stream,
it? One, it's performance,
but
you
the race will-
have less grip, but then the vibration as well can be detrimental
And
to the
I
performance.
really
of the
don't
car.
want to get
And
strikes.
It's quite a hard
I probably already did.
feeling to explain, isn't it?
Thanks
What
for
the marbles
watching,
feel like.
and
I always
I'll
kind of
see
say,
you all
when you've been bouncing around on a trampoline
to
for a
new
while, then you
people
jump
who
off
come
and your
by,
legs are like
guys.
jelly. Kind of feels like that, but the car underneath
Love
you,
you.
you can't place
Thanks
it
for watching.
where you want,
Thanks
and
for
it
stopping
seems to
by.
take an age.
See you all later.
And then there's that cruelness.